Several YouTubers have recently been visiting Arkansas to interview a man named Tom Bowie. Their reason? He seems to be known as America's most racist man. And this label seems to fit pretty well because he often says things like,
describe black person with one word.
A criminal at the very least.
Alright, this dude's a racist. I think we can confirm that. So obviously, the internet is going to hate this guy. They're going to rip him to shreds the second they find him. Right? No, nobody seems to hate him. If anything, a lot of people seem to like him. But why? The people on the internet in the modern world seem to like the most racist man in America. How's that possible? Well, after looking into these videos myself, I believe I have found the 3 main factors that allow this guy to say what he says and be liked for it. But after we cover that, I want to cover why that matters. The fact that this guy has no haters says something about society and the culture of the internet. And that's the whole reason for me making this video. Reason 1. He's not an influencer. Tom doesn't have a YouTube channel or an Instagram. He's just some guy from this town in Arkansas. He doesn't have a big platform to influence people, and therefore, he's not held to the same degree as influencers. But let's put this into perspective. If Tom Cruise or PewDiePie was saying the same things that this guy was saying, they would be ripped to shreds by the internet and the media, and nobody would be defending them. Nobody would like them for it. And a big reason for that is because they have influence. People look up to them. Kids look up to them. So therefore, they're held to a standard that people who don't have influence aren't really held to. But Tom says what he says, and he's not berated by the internet by it because, you know, he's not an influencer. No one really cares. And now I'm not trying to argue that what Tom says is fine because he's not an influencer, but when it comes to the internet, they're not gonna hate him as much. They're not gonna criticize him as much because he's not an influencer. It may even be more efficient to just ignore him instead of giving him attention. Reason 2. I gotta be careful how I word this, okay? Hear me out here. Okay, no, just before you cancel me, just listen for like 2 minutes. Now I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say now, okay? He's not as racist as you may initially assume. When you see these videos with Tom on YouTube, all of them are labeling him as America's most racist man. And when you see that in the title of the video, you're gonna click on that video thinking a certain way of Tom. So you may be surprised when you see how he actually behaves. It's a weird thing to think that Jidion is actually like friends with this guy. And Poudii goes back to his house like multiple times to make more videos with him, and the guy just gladly takes his interview. So he is racist, but people may be going into these videos thinking that he's way worse than he actually is. And then since he ends up being pretty racist, but not like, you know, like violently racist, or not like racist to the level where he won't even talk to you if you're not white, then people give him the benefit of the doubt. Don't get me wrong, this guy is racist, and I'm not commending him for his actions, but I'm trying to speak through a perspective of why he doesn't get that much hate. The fact that he will gladly take interviews from black YouTubers and make jokes with them and go out to dinner with them is probably the reason why a lot of people on the internet like him. Because he says he doesn't want to be around black people, and then he goes and hangs out with Jidion, who he knows is a black YouTuber. So it seems like people hope that deep down he's not really that hateful. Either that, or they just genuinely believe he's not hurting anyone, so they don't care. I don't know. Reason number 3. His audience. Let's look back at the biggest creator who makes videos with Tom, Jidion. The stuff that Jidion has made tends to be stuff that a lot of people would be offended by. Like a lot of pranks and stuff, you know? This guy's a menace. Or at least he used to be a menace. So the people that choose to watch him are gonna be people that aren't really offended by stuff easily. So it's safe to say that most of Jidion's audience probably isn't really offended by the stuff that Tom is saying. And they're the type of people to leave those comments like saying Tom's a chill guy and saying Tom's just hella funny. And this goes for other YouTubers that make videos with Tom like Poudii. I'm sure his audience is very similar to Jidion's audience. So the audience that watches Tom most likely comprises of young guys who, you know, if their party chats got leaked, then they're going to jail. So they're not going to be offended by Tom. Now let's say a creator like Marques Brownlee, Mark Rober, Rosanna Pansino. Let's say they decide to make a video where they interview Tom. Based off the audience that watches them, Tom wouldn't be some type of hero, okay? He wouldn't be getting praised by their audience, right? Because, I mean, if you look at Marques Brownlee's videos, I'm guessing it's more of like a mature audience. And Marques doesn't make these types of videos, but if he made a video with Tom, then his audience would have a bit of a more mature response. So it's all about the audience. The people that see Tom and the people that you see commenting about Tom, the reason why you see all these comments loving Tom is because the audience that is commenting about Tom, the audience that is watching Tom, are, you know, kids who aren't offended by what he's saying and just probably think it's funny. But that brings me to talk about why this whole story even matters. Let's have a talk about the culture of the internet. First off, if you want to know my honest opinion on Tom, I think the dude just lives in a bubble. I think he's ignorant towards a lot of the realities of the world. It just seems like he's kind of been raised this way to believe what he believes, and it seems pretty hard to change his opinion. But when it comes to the culture of the internet, this whole story about Tom does tell us one good thing about internet culture. And that is that people who have influence, like celebrities and YouTubers, they are held to a higher standard than people who don't have influence on the internet. They have a certain responsibility to do and say the right things. If they mess up and they do the wrong thing, that's gonna influence way more people than if some random Joe on the internet did the same thing. So that's one good thing, but that leads me to talk about the negative effect of all this. Certain people on the internet can say certain things and do certain things and get away with it completely. Tom is a perfect example of this. As of right now, there's millions of people who have seen him on the internet, and probably a lot of young kids who have been influenced by him negatively. Surprisingly, a lot of famous people fit into this category too. For example, Sean Strickland, if you don't know, is a UFC fighter, and he's famous. He's a UFC fighter. Some of the things that he says are like, bro, if Tom Holland said it, then he would be wiped off the face of this planet. And obviously, Tom Holland is way more famous than Sean Strickland, but Sean Strickland still is famous, and he has a lot of fans. But the thing is, I don't really see him being held accountable for this. I don't see people going after him, or at least like the media. He seems completely unfazed, untouched by this, and he keeps saying what he says. It's not like he's saying the worst things in the world, but they can have a negative impact on the people who choose to listen to him. And a lot of his fans will listen to him because they don't see people hating on him. They don't see him getting backlash. So they may think that what he's saying is okay. You see, cancel culture oftentimes goes too far, but we do have to admit that it can also be a force for good. And that's because it doesn't allow people to start negative movements. There's just so many people on the internet, including influencers, who say and do certain things that like they shouldn't be doing and that they should be getting held accountable for, and they're just not held accountable for it. Guess what? You want to know something? A few weeks ago, Conor McGregor, who you know who that is, I know you know who that is, he tweeted the N-word. I swear, bro. I promise you. I mean, he deleted it. But the thing is, he's not getting the same reaction out of people as like someone like Selena Gomez would get. So it's like the media likes to hold some people accountable but not others. And it just doesn't really make sense. Think about it. Conor McGregor tweeted the N-word, bro. Like, what? Oh my, Isn't it crazy that if one celebrity says the N-word, then rightfully so, they're going to receive backlash. They're going to be held accountable for it. But, you know, if Conor McGregor, if my guy McGregor says the same thing, then, I mean, man, he's a crackhead, dude. I mean, he's fine, man. Like, he didn't mean any ill will. Like, if you learn anything from this video, it's that. McGregor gets the pass, man.